Psoriasis. It is a non-contagious and chronic skin disease which is purely autoimmune in nature. It causes the skin inflammation, and it is generally seen into the childhood or age before 35 years. And it is commonly manifested as a very itchy disease and contains silver plaques over to the skin. If we see to the general anatomy of the skin, skin is divided into several sections. The first being epidermis. First layer is epidermis, second is dermis, the third is hypodermis, and the fourth layer is of being muscles. So the first layer itself contains a number of skin layers, being the last layer is stratum basale. It gets continuously divides for the production of keratinocytes. Then comes the second layer, which is dermis. In there, the presence of nerves, sweat glands, blood vessels, and lymph vessels, etc. The third layer is of hypodermis. Hypodermis consists of fat cells and connective tissue. And then comes the last layer of the muscles. So now see what happens in the psoriasis. We have to see the pathophysiology. So for example, there are a number of microbes present into our skin, on our skin. So when there is a crack, or you can say a cut to the skin, the microorganism enters into the several section of the skin and may enters deeper into the skin. When it crosses the epidermis or dermis layer, it gets involved, and then what happens? Enters through the tiny cut into the skin, and immune cells, our body's immune cells called dendritic cells, they recognize this microorganism as a foreign body, and what it do, it gets the autoimmune process gets initiated. Then the T cell come into the action. What T cell do? It releases the cytokinins. T cell releases the cytokinins, which produces the inflammation. The inflammation results into the increase in the number of the keratinocytes. If the keratinocyte gets increased, or there is excessive increase in the keratinocytes, and the skin gets thickened continuously. Now, what will be the symptoms of the psoriasis? The symptoms of psoriasis is there is a scaly white silvery scales or a red spots over to the trunk and limbs. Like you can see white scales. If you can see the white scales and the red spots over the limbs, over the scalp. This is psoriasis. Then what occurs? There is another type of psoriasis, which is inverse psoriasis, smooth shiny lesions within the skin fold. In the skin fold areas, there is the presence of the smooth shiny lesions. And inflammation in the joints can also occur in the psoriasis in the extreme cases. So these are the clinical features of psoriasis. Now, how can you diagnose psoriasis? So the diagnosis of psoriasis can be made by tissue biopsy. You have to do tissue biopsy to confirm the diagnosis, or you can just look over to the skin manifestation, but to confirm there should be tissue biopsy. And for the treatment, there is emollients, vitamin D analogs, UV rays, moisturizers, immunosuppressive therapy, stress management, and diet interventions. And systemic treatment, which is a special one, is photochemotherapy. So this is all about psoriasis.